Welcome to One Tired Teacher, episode 39, Back to School Motivation. So today we're going to talk about the things that motivate you and inspire you and help fuel you for that back to school crazy time that really takes the soul of a teacher and makes it an exhausting time of year. But there's a reason why we do this every year. So we're going to talk about that today. Hope you stick around.
Welcome to One Tired Teacher. And even though she may need a nap, this teacher is ready to wake up and speak her truth about the trials and treasures of teaching. Here she is, wide awake. Wait, she's not asleep right now, is she? She is awake, right? Okay. From Trina Debery Teaching and Learning, your host, Trina Debery.
Hey, so episode 39, getting really close to almost a year. That's crazy. All right, so we're going to talk about things that motivate us and hopefully give you some places and some resources where you can find some inspiration. I think it's really important when we first go back to feel motivated, because sometimes we're dragging a little bit. It's been a long summer. We've been really, we've been able to spend time with our family and catch up on some of those things that we put on hold in our own lives in order to offer something to others. So I think it's really important for us to be able to have that time, but I also think we need some motivation and inspiration when we're headed back. So before we get started, I do want to tell you, if you've ever considered, because I think this is so cool and I just found out about it, if you've ever considered creating a digital course, maybe you've got a really great system, strategy, or a roadmap to teach teachers a new skill. For example, and I mean, this you don't have to be a teacherpreneur to do this. Maybe this is your way of breaking into being a teacherpreneur. And I created a digital course on podcasting for teacherpreneurs. And I'm actually starting to write one for teachers because I think podcasting has such potential in the classroom. So I'm excited about that. So be on the listen for that. But anyway, so I did a course and how I learned to do it, how I learned from the master, the best, the ultimate, Amy Porterfield. She's incredible. She's an incredible marketing person, and she was famous originally for Facebook, and now she has a podcast, which is really a great inspiration and very helpful. And she also writes an email course, and she also has a digital course academy, which is what I went through in order to learn how to create digital courses. And it was like getting a marketing degree. It was really unbelievable, honestly. And it was truly and the experience itself, just the group of people, I mean, I feel like I got tons of other training for free. The rest of the things that we got were so... Oh, it's unbelievable. So she has a free starter kit, which I think is really cool. So if you've ever even considered, and there's some teachers that have turned into teacherpreneurs by selling a digital course. I know one that's selling it on writing units, and I know another teacher turned teacherpreneur who sells a course on, I think it's guided math. She has a guided math course for teachers, and they have made 7 figures. That's insane. And so if you've ever considered it, Amy Porterfield has a free digital course academy starter kit. So I'm going to link to that in the show notes because I think you should check it out. I think if you've even considered doing a digital course, that you're going to want to check it out. So check that out. So that's the first thing I want to say. And now I want to talk about getting back into the year. So as I have mentioned, I think I've hinted to it on some shows, on a couple episodes. And if you listened to last week's show, episode 38, on why classroom decor matters, then you will have heard me talk a little bit about it. And if you missed that, go check it out, because it talks about why it's important for us to have our room ready to go for kids, for parents, for administrators. So you can check that out. It's episode 38. So today I want to talk about, I have hinted. So I hinted on a few episodes that I'm going to go back into education because I've spent the last almost 2 years really dedicating myself to being like a person, hopefully that teachers feel like they can listen to on a podcast and they can get motivation or inspiration, or maybe I've taught you a thing here or there, and I've had on like some really great guests that have given some really valuable information. So hopefully you have felt like you got something out of it. I know that the podcasting part, it was one of my very favorite parts of the last 2 years, almost 2 years of full time, selling and creating resources on TPT and also podcasting. And then I created a digital course, and yeah, it's all been crazy. And I've put a lot of focus. Actually, I was a little unfocused, but now I know who I'm talking to. And so that part really matters, and you guys really matter to me. And I felt like it was really important to keep teachers motivated and inspired and learning so that they could continue being in the classroom and serving kids. Because I know for myself, it got really hard. I got really tired. Like it took such an emotional beating on my mental health, my physical health. I was getting sick constantly. I had chronic sinus infections. It was one sickness after another. It was really hard. And I had to leave. I had to step out of the classroom for a while. And the first thing I tried was a student support specialist. And I did that for a little over a year. And that was, it was kind of like an admin and training. I worked with kids that did a lot of discipline, but I also worked with like training teachers and looking at data and assisting my administrator in all things that he, wanted to do with the school. So working with him was great because he was my principal forever, and I highly respected him. So it was really amazing. And then he left, and the job became like a lot of discipline. And that is not my favorite part of the job, because I think that my strength was always, as a teacher, was always building connections and relationships with students. And so I didn't have a lot of discipline problems. So dealing with discipline constantly, I definitely think I have the skills to deal with that. I can very often diffuse a child that's off the wall, and I build good relationships or strong relationships with children. But having them come to you and you're writing referral, or you're entering in referrals, and you're talking to parents about their kid making not the greatest choices and so on and so forth, is not like the thing that I love the most. Like I like the other aspects of that job, or I did initially, which was like, a lot of leadership types of things and like teacher trainings and supporting teachers, and in curriculum as well, not just in discipline. And so I definitely think that one of the things that I learned, which was key, and this is something that I struggled with myself. The office was always like the final resort for me. Like whenever a kid would get in trouble, like I always had systems in place. Like that was like a hierarchy. So when I got to the office, it was a massive thing. I mean, like one time a kid scratched another kid with a nail, like with a rusty nail, which is, technically you could be using it as like a weapon, and that is really serious in my district. So I think that might have been one time that I sent someone to the office, but it was a very rare occasion because it needed to be like, again, like the final thing, like the ultimate like worst thing that could happen. And I really felt sometimes like you're actually kind of undermining yourself if you have to do that on a regular basis, because you're telling the child and yourself that you've kind of lost your power. And I know how hard it is, because being in the classroom for so many years with kids and watching them struggle with behavior, it is 1,000 times easier to deal with it when it's just that one child and myself, rather than the 20 other kids in my class and me with the kid. I had one behavior problem that was like significant in my 17 years of actually in the classroom experience. And I had a really hard time with him. And by the end, I was calling the office, but I had lost control. Like I had lost control of the situation. I had my own personal stuff going on. And I was not doing a very good job. And this was not early on in my career. This was later, actually. Embarrassingly enough, it was later. But I was struggling, and I was totally giving away I was undermining myself regularly. And I just felt like I just needed to get him out of there. Like he just needed to get out of there. He was like causing havoc, and I like lost my way. And so I don't, there's no judgment here, because I understand that sometimes we've got to take a break from them. They have to be away from us. We have to be away from them. And sometimes I think that's just you loving a kid, when you know that you have to kind of protect them from yourself. And that has to happen sometimes. So I totally get that. But I also know on the flip side that we have to be really careful about undermining ourselves. So that was kind of a long story about that job, but I did that as I left the classroom because of what was happening, and I was really frustrated with the system. And I did the student support specialist, and then I tried media specialist for a while, which was a very interesting position. I learned a lot about that from that as well. I mean, when you're on one side and then you're on the other, and then you have a chance to kind of see different perspectives, it's really eye-opening. So anyway, I left all of that. Like I really felt like I'd gotten to a point where the exhaustion, the tired teacher in me was just like no longer able to find the passion and my purpose. I felt like I lost it, and so I made it my mission to kind of like dedicate myself to making sure that doesn't happen to someone else. And because I really believe that teachers are champions. And I feel like we are heroes and we are survivors. We survive some scrutiny from the public, and we, survive difficult students, and we survive parents, giving us a hard time, and we survive not having materials and supplies and lesson plans that have to be this format or that format, or evaluations that don't really feel fair. Like that's a lot. And most of us, and most of all, I should say, we deserve to feel like we're heroes, and that we're survivors, and we're not just survivors, we're thrivers. Like that is such a difference. Like I don't want to say I just survived. I want to thrive. I want you all to thrive. And I feel like most of us, all of us, deserve to feel like we need to feel that intense happiness and offer that to others, because our students deserve that as well. And it makes a difference when we're feeling like we just can't take it anymore. And so sometimes we do have to step out. We have to step out of the classroom for a little bit of time. This is something that I never thought about myself. Like I used to when people would ask me what my 5-year plan was, I didn't understand why it wasn't okay for me to just say I wanted to be a better teacher. I didn't want to be a principal. I didn't want to go into administration. I didn't want to climb up whatever. I wanted to be a really good teacher in a classroom, making a difference in the lives of kids. That was my purpose. That was my goal. And there were times in my career where I didn't feel it. I wasn't feeling it, or I felt like something else needed to come first. For example, when I had my daughter, and she is now 19, when I had my daughter, I had been teaching for a couple of years, and I wanted to stay home really badly with her. I wanted to have a baby, and I wanted to stay home. I wanted to be a mom first and not try to fit everything, around school. And so we talked about it, and we were really going to try to make it happen. And I took a leave at the end of March. She was due in April, and we ended up, I had her early. So it was March, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take the rest of the year off, and then I'll have to go back in August, because we couldn't afford for me to do anything differently. And then as the summer went through, we were like, okay, let's try to take the next year off. And so I put in for a leave, and I got the leave, and I was trying to do every stay-at-home job imaginable, every single thing. I did crazy jobs, and this was in 2000. So there weren't stay-at-home jobs. I mean, it was medical transcriptionist and, call telemarketer and all these things that were brutal. And so I tried all these different things, and it didn't work. It just didn't work. And my husband at the time was working 3 jobs so that we could survive. And it was crazy. It was intense. It was hard. It was really hard. And so we finally got to a point where we were like, you know what? You're going to have to go back. I'm going to have to go back. And this was in December. And I was like, I was devastated. I was devastated. I didn't understand. I feel like I do. Sometimes my faith is shaken, but I felt like I was upset with God. I'm like, why? Why do I have to go back? Like, don't you want me to be a mom? And isn't this the most important? Like, I don't understand. I just didn't, I was angry. I was really angry. So we made the decision that I had to go back, and it was like, literally within like a couple of days. I think it was like the day we decided it, that same day or the next day, I had a friend call me and say, because I couldn't go back to my school because I had given up my position, for the year. So I had to go back to a different school in the county. And so I had to figure out who's going to hire in the middle of the year in December. Well, I had a friend call and they were like, oh, there's a position at this school in a little ways away from me, like 25 minutes away from me. And she's leaving the classroom to be an all teacher, which we used to have all teachers, which were like these reading recovery, basically teachers. They were awesome. It was like the best training. It was such a good, intense training of teaching reading. I wish that we had. It was very successful. It just didn't have a high impact because it was really a lot of one-on-one, mainly daily, and which is what it takes when you have kids that are in situations like that. But we don't offer that kind of intense remediation anymore, sadly. But anyway, so she was leaving the classroom, and so it was perfect. So everything like worked out perfectly. Like it was all of a sudden I had a job. Like I interviewed. I didn't even feel like I interviewed. The principal, I knew his son from high school, and we ended up talking about how I had once been at his house at a party. It was like the easiest interview I think I've ever been on in my life. And he was great and nice, and he was leaving. Like he was leaving anyway. He was retiring. So he was hiring me for this new principal that was coming in. And my principal gave me a really good recommendation. So this is the only person I worked for that was different for a while. I always forget about that. Like it was because it was only for 6 months, not even like, I don't know how many months, but anyway, not even like 5. It was only like 5 months. And so he hired me right away. And then I literally found a babysitter, an in-home care babysitter who was like an older woman. It was like my daughter had grandparents, like these 2 grandparents that took care of her. It was with these sweet other little girls who she's, still knows. It was crazy. So everything worked out. It was so obvious that God was at work that there was no question. Like I knew this is my purpose. Like this is what he wants me to do. He wants me to teach. He wants me to impact lives of children. And so I was, I felt like I had a purpose. So, as hard as it was heartbreaking. I used to drive to school every day looking like I was on drugs because my eyes were swollen and puffy, and I cried the whole entire way there. It was very upsetting. And plus I was going to a new school where I didn't know anyone, and I was coming in the middle of the year, and it was hard. It was so hard. But I knew that I had a purpose, so that kind of changed it. When God calls, you answer. So I did that and then I got to go back to my regular school the next school year, and my career went on from there. And it was really great. I loved it. I loved after like my daughter got older, I found that I loved teaching again. Like I was back to loving teaching. And even when I had my son, I got to take the year off, and we were in a totally different situation by then. And I got to take the year off, and I was actually okay when it was time to go back. Mainly because I had like a best friend who was off, and we just talked, and we talked about teaching, and we just loved talking about teaching, and teaching was like our thing. And so when I went back that year, I was like, this is my call. This is my service. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I felt that way for a really long time. And then, like I said, it got really difficult, and I got frustrated and sick. And it was like emotionally sick as well, because I was struggling with the testing and like the expectations that we had on these kids. And I was angry. I was so angry. And I'm like, this is not what I want for kids. Like, I don't want to be angry at a system that I feel like is hurting them. I don't want to be a part of that. So then, I tried to go out of the classroom and really more impact adults. And I feel like I did for a long time, or did for a little while. And then when I moved, to the media specialist, it like kind of all really fell apart for me. And I was like, I can't do it anymore. So I left and I resigned. I didn't even take a leave. Like I resigned. And I mean, I literally like burned the ship. I got rid of, almost 20 years of teaching materials. I gave it away, didn't even sell it. I just gave it away. I had thousands and thousands of dollars of books and I gave them away to people. And so I don't have anything left. Well, in the last couple of months, I've started to realize that I need the stability. I need the stability. And so I'm like, I need to find something beyond what I'm doing to kind of supplement. And I'm like, maybe I need to go back. And so long story short, although it's already been a long story, to the point, nothing worked out. Like it was all doors were not opening. But education was calling me back. And I went through this, and this is just recently, I went through this faith crisis where I was like, why, God? Like I thought, this was the path that I'm supposed to be doing something different. This is the path I don't understand. I felt like, I was so confused. And again, everything worked out really quickly, relatively, doesn't feel quickly. I'm still like, I accepted a job on, what's today? Wednesday, last week. And it's taking forever, like to get through all the hoops of hiring, which let me tell you, when you work for a district for 20 years and then when you come back as a rehire and they are asking for things that they have in a file, it just makes you want to bang your head up against the wall. And I'm like, are you sure, God, this is what you were telling me to do? But I like feel it. So I know that it is. And I'm like, okay, I got to be ready. I got to be ready for these kids. I got to be ready for these teachers. I've got to be ready to to do the work that I'm supposed to do. And I'm going back as a student support specialist. I'm not going back into a classroom still, which is very fortunate for me considering the fact that I don't have any materials anymore. Like I've given them all away, not all of them because I'm creating materials. So obviously I still have some books, but nothing like what I had. So I kept like my professional books, most of those, or at least ones that I found were valuable. And so I have that kind of stuff, but I'm like, oh, I got to dive in. And I'm like, teachers have already started and I'm waiting for my start date to happen. Cause I like all these things. And I'm like, I feel like I'm already behind. I'm starting and I'm already behind. And I don't know about you, but man, that stresses me out. That stresses me out to like such a degree. And so I'm struggling with that. But so I'm like, you know what? I really think that if there are any teachers out there, if this is you and you're having a hard time, like really wrapping your brain around going back to school or jumping in or being the teacher that you were supposed to be and doing the job that we need to do for children. And don't get me wrong, I do not think that means we sacrifice our soul. I do not think that means that we deserve not to be compensated or that we deserve to be treated poorly or any of that. When people say it's for the kids and they use that as an excuse to almost treat us in an abusive manner, I don't think that's okay at all. Let me just say that right up front. I don't think that's okay. And I think we have to we kind of have to demand, we have to demand better. Like that's not okay. So I will say that. But then I'll also say that I think it's really important for us to remember that we are the champion for kids and we are the heroes for kids. And we have to keep that mindset so that we can do the work that we're supposed to do. And when you're doing work that feels like service work, you need to take care of yourself. It's really important for you to take care of yourself and not to put yourself last all the time, because it's kind of like what they talk about with the oxygen masks, which I know I've talked about before on episodes about self-care. I've talked about making sure you put your own oxygen mask on first before you put that on of your child sitting next to you, because if you can't breathe, you're not going to be able to save your child. And it's the same thing with teaching. If we can't breathe, if we can't function, if we can't be healthy, if we can't exercise, if we can't take care of ourselves, if we can't sleep, we're not going to be able to be a benefit to the kids that need us, that desperately need us. So remember that. So So I've collected a few inspiring quotes to kickstart our back to school mindset, because mindset really is key. It is so key. And I keep telling myself that when it's like one more task I have to do, like verify my employment from where I worked for 20 years to work in the same place. So like I keep trying to tell myself, keep a good mindset, like focus on your mindset. Make sure that you're thinking about this as an opportunity to practice patience, or you're using this as an opportunity to maybe suggest a solution to an inefficient system. Who knows? So you got to watch your mindset. But I'm sure that you've heard a lot on this topic, because it's like a big topic right now, and I think it's truly important. But I really do think that your emotional state can really make or break you. So here is to a few like quotes that I hope that you use to really kick some what and change lives. So the first one is, don't be afraid to start over. It's a new chance to rebuild what you want. That's one of the best parts of teaching, in my opinion, is that every year it's a fresh start. You get a fresh start. You get to do it again. So you get the chance to rebuild what you want. I think that's really amazing. Here's one by Joan of Arc. The other one was actually anonymous. I don't know who said that. But Joan of Arc says this one, "I'm not afraid. I was born to do this." Yeah. So I love that. Like, that's one I think that I would like to make into a giant. Actually, I think Magnolia from Chip and Joanna, Magnolia Farms, or is it Magnolia Farms? I don't know what they call it. Now I can't remember. It's all of a sudden got out of my head, although they're like two of my favorite people. I feel like they had this sign in their shop for a while. And I do have a gift certificate for this that my brother and sister-in-law gave me for Christmas. So maybe I can get that sign. I think I need that sign. All right, here's a quote from Dr. Seuss. "You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way." I love that. I think that that's a good one too, to remind ourselves that we're ready to go. This was actually a quote by Taylor Swift, the singer. So she says, "This is a new year, a new beginning, and things will change." They will change. They're going to change every single year. And are you going to be part of making that change, being a change agent for our kids? Or, is it going to be the same? So think about that. This is one by Eleanor Roosevelt. "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." And that's what we are for kids. Like, we are dream makers. I want to be a dream maker for kids. I want kids to see something about themselves or inside themselves that maybe they didn't see before. And I want to help bring that out. So I'm going to keep that in my mind for this year. And now I want to give you a few resources, because there's some great videos. These are a really good thing. These are not necessarily ones that you have to see, because it's such a good speech or speaking that you don't need to see their faces. So you could listen to this. It's not a podcast, but it is a YouTube video. And I'll share the links in the show notes. There are some YouTube videos that I think you can have playing while you're putting your classroom together, or you can listen to on your way to school or on your way home from school when you're really feeling tired and beaten down. So the first one is "Every Kid Needs a Champion," and it's Rita Pearson. And this was a TED Talk, and I love TED Talks. So actually the next several ones are TED Talks, because I think those are just so motivating. But in this "Every Kid Needs a Champion," which is so good, Rita Pearson is a teacher for 40 years. And once she heard a colleague say, "They don't pay me to like the kids." And her response was, "Kids don't learn from people they don't like." It's like, that's so true. They don't learn from people they don't like. If they don't feel like you're invested or you care about them, or they feel like you don't like them, and they can tell when you don't like them. They don't learn from you. I think this is like, this video or this show, this TED Talk, is a rousing call to educators to believe in their students and actually connect with them on a real human, personal level. So I think that it's an excellent one. It's a must-see. And then from my very favorite, and I couldn't even decide, I had to share all three of them. My very favorite education guru, Sir Ken Robinson. I met him. I got a chance to meet him at a tech conference just a couple years ago. Actually, when I first went full time on TPT, I went to the tech conference in February. I left in December, and so then February I went to a tech conference and I got to meet him in person, and I was gonna buy his book, and he was there to sign books, and right when I got up to him, the book sold out, and I was like, no. So he ended up signing my tech badge. And I got to talk to him, and I got my picture taken with him. And you know what? I might share that in the show notes too, because it was like one of the best moments for me. I was super sick. I ended up really, really sick. This was like one of my last like big time sicknesses, because then that all got better after I left. But so hopefully that doesn't happen again. Like hopefully I can keep myself healthy. But I was there and I wanted to see him so badly that I was like, I'm just going to have to see him sick. Like I forced myself. I paid for that conference, so I was going to every single second of it. But anyway, so my favorite speaker on education, Sir Ken Robinson, he's like an education hero for me. Yeah, I was actually when I walked away, I was actually shaking. My whole body was shaking. It was so exciting. So one of them that I love is do schools kill creativity? And he makes it like entertaining, and it's profoundly moving. It's this profoundly moving case for creating an education system that nurtures rather than undermines creativity. Ugh, love that one. So good. He did another one called How to Escape Education's Death Valley. And he outlines 3 principles that are crucial for the human mind to flourish, and how current education culture works against them, which is very interesting. He points out some things that we do, some things that we could actually change and that we should be changing. But he does it in this really funny, stirring, like storytelling way. And he what we can do, like how we can get out of like this educational death valley that we face. And I might need to listen to that one myself again, because that one might really help me. But it talks about nurturing our youngest generations with a climate of possibility. So I think that is so powerful. And then reimagine learning that can change the world. Internationally recognized educator and creativity expert Robinson inspires us to imagine school systems that can move beyond a narrow focus on academic achievement to actively promoting creativity and divergent thinking. I love him. So I hope that you feel completely motivated and after listening to these, and that maybe you feel motivated to like go and do your purpose, to like rise to the occasion to fulfill your purpose. And even if you're like kicking a little bit and screaming inside, like you gotta, I will do the same thing. I'm going to work on my mindset. I hope that you work on yours, and let's try really hard to like remember to take care of ourselves and one another. So I want you to tell me, I want you to shoot me an email or write a comment on Apple, or right below in the show notes on my blog or my website, and let me know if you've ever left the classroom and then gone back. Like what happened? Like what was your story? I'd love to hear your story. Or if you are going into school and you're scared, you're like, I don't know, or I'm new and I don't know what to expect, or you're going to a new school and you've got all that stuff going on in your brain, or you're having a hard time going back. Like, I'd love to hear that too. I'd love to hear like how you're dealing with that and what's going on and what I can do to help you be motivated and to like fulfill your destiny or your purpose. And it doesn't mean you have to do that forever. Like sometimes God calls us for a period of time. And I know for me that I have to answer him. I have to follow him so that I can hear his voice louder the next time he calls. So I just think that's really important. I hope you have a great year. We're going to continue with this back to school theme for the next couple of weeks, because we've got some people that have not even started yet, but we have got some people that are already there. You've already started. Like I'm already supposed to be started, but I haven't started yet. So next week I start for real. Even when it's like basically my start date is the same day the kids come back, which is super stressful. So I'm going to have to go like this weekend because there's no way. I can't just walk in and like say, oh, here I am. That sounds insane. Anyway, all right. So have a great year. I'm going to try to have a great year, and shoot me an email. Let me know. Let me feel ya. I want to know what's going on with you. I want to know like your story. All right. Have a great get back to school, and I will see you next week. So this one tired teacher is ready for a power nap so I can be geared up and ready to jump in. Until next time, sweet dreams and sleep tight.